I was ordered to watch humans in battle. Now I regret ever witnessing HFY. Still, there was a small knot of anticipation in his chest. He had been assigned a task he thought would be simple: watch humans fight. That was all. The council wanted data. They wanted to see how the humans handled combat. Kelrin was ready to write a report full of failures, fear, and confusion. That was what most of his species expected from humans: small, fragile, and reckless. The command room was quiet except for the hum of the ship's systems. Kelrin's eyes, sensitive to movement and energy, tracked the human fleet below. The humans moved slowly at first, preparing their ships. The ships were not as large as most galactic vessels, but they were nimble. The ship's designs looked simple, almost primitive. Kelrin wondered how these weak, soft-looking creatures could survive against the enemies they faced. Kelrin turned his attention to the humans on the main observation screen. Captain Lucas Grant stood at the front of his ship's command center, staring at the view screen with a calm focus. His uniform was tidy, and he moved with a confidence that made Kelrin uncomfortable. Beside him, Tactical Officer Amy Brooks adjusted her station with steady hands, quietly giving commands to the crew. The humans did not shout. They did not panic. They seemed normal, too normal. Kelrin expected trembling, fear, or at least nervous chatter. There was none of that. The mission was simple: intercept a band of alien raiders threatening a nearby colony. The Council had made it clear. Humans were not to lead, just observe. The humans did not know Kelrin was watching. Kelrin, however, had seen all their files, learned their strategies, and believed he understood them. It was a short battle, one he expected to be humiliating for humans. He was ready to record it, perhaps even make a humorous note about their failures. Then the humans moved. Their ships left the formation slowly at first, as though testing the waters. Kelrin watched, curious. The humans did not move in tight formations like other species. They did not hold positions in the expected patterns. They scattered, each ship moving independently yet always keeping the enemy within sight. Kelrin frowned. This was chaos, pure chaos. It should not have worked. "They will fall immediately," Kelrin muttered, almost to himself. His voice echoed strangely in the observation room. "They cannot hold against that enemy force." The alien raiders were many times larger than the human ships. Their weapons were far stronger, and their shields could withstand more damage. Kelrin had watched countless fleets in battle, and this one should have been over before it began. Yet the humans continued forward, small but determined. On the human bridge, Captain Lucas Grant gave calm orders. "Maintain scanning. Target weak points. No unnecessary maneuvers until we know their pattern." Amy Brooks nodded. "Acknowledged, Captain. Systems are ready." The humans' voices were soft, almost quiet, but firm. Kelrin felt a strange sensation, almost like unease, creeping through him. How could they be so calm, so fearless? The first shots rang out. Laser beams streaked across the void. The humans, small ships, moved unpredictably, dodging enemy fire in ways Kelrin had never seen. The alien raiders fired carefully, trying to target each human ship. Kelrin expected explosions, ships being ripped apart, chaos. Instead, the humans adapted immediately. Small engines burned, twisting their ships at angles that should have caused collisions. Yet they did not collide. They avoided the enemy weapons with perfect timing. Kelrin leaned closer to the screen, his three eyes tracking every move. "This is impossible," he said. The humans were doing exactly what no one else could do. They were surviving, even thriving, under fire. One ship, commanded by pilot Noah Carter, dove directly into the enemy's path, drawing fire away from others. It should have been suicide. It should have failed. But it did not. Carter's ship weaved between lasers, dodged missiles, and emerged unscathed on the other side. Kelrin could not understand. All his calculations said that humans should panic. Their ships were too small, their numbers too few, their weapons too weak. Yet here they were, moving forward with skill and confidence. It was as if the humans had a will that ignored logic. It was a dangerous, terrifying skill. The battle intensified. Human boarding parties launched from small crafts, attaching themselves to enemy ships. Kelrin observed as medic Claire Morgan moved through corridors full of fire and smoke, treating wounded soldiers even as the hull shook violently. Kelrin's species considered this behavior inefficient. Why risk a life that way? Why not retreat, regroup, or surrender? Yet humans did not think in terms of survival alone. They thought of duty, of mission, of protecting each other. Kelrin began to feel something unfamiliar. It was a prickle in his mind, a warning, a shift in perspective. The humans were not just surviving, they were winning. Slowly, steadily, they were turning the tide of the battle. The larger, stronger enemy ships were beginning to falter. Shields dropped faster than expected. The humans adapted, attacked, retreated, and struck again with a precision that Kelrin could barely track. He shook his head. This was not what he was supposed to witness. He was supposed to see failure, chaos, fear, and hopelessness. Instead, he saw control within chaos, courage in fear, intelligence beyond calculation. The humans were something else entirely. The first human cruiser collided with an enemy vessel intentionally, causing massive damage. Kelrin's recording devices almost failed to capture the speed of the maneuver. The human captain, Lucas Grant, had made a decision no logical being would make: to use a damaged ship as a weapon. The enemy fleet was thrown into confusion. Their formations broke apart. Their attacks became haphazard. Humans were using fear, surprise, and unpredictability as weapons, and it worked perfectly. Kelrin could not process it all. He had been trained to analyze, to predict, to categorize. Humans defied every category. They were reckless, yes, but in ways that seemed purposeful. They were loud, yes, but not with anger or fear, only with determination. Every human had a role, and they executed it without hesitation. The aliens Kelrin observed began to lose cohesion, unable to anticipate what the humans would do next. Kelrin took a deep breath, a gesture that had no real meaning to his physiology but felt strangely necessary. He was supposed to be detached, impartial, an observer, but he could not detach himself. The humans had captured his attention entirely. He realized slowly that this was not a normal observation. This was a revelation. As the battle continued, Kelrin noticed the humans laughing quietly under pressure. Small smiles appeared on faces even while alarms blared. They were not careless. They were not foolish. They were confident in a way that was almost alien in itself. Kelrin realized that the humans did not see danger as an end. They saw it as a challenge, something to overcome. They were masters of fear, or at least masters of ignoring it when it mattered most. By the end of the first engagement, several enemy ships were destroyed. The humans suffered minor casualties, but nothing compared to what should have happened. Kelrin's reports filled with notes of astonishment. He could not write the words he wanted to. How could he describe the humans without sounding impressed, without sounding afraid? The council expected mockery, but Kelrin knew he could not mock what he had seen. Kelrin leaned back from the observation screen, his three eyes focused on nothing. His mind raced, trying to understand what he had witnessed. Humans were supposed to be weak, but they were strong in ways no one expected. They were supposed to panic, but they were calm in ways no one could predict. They were supposed to fail, but they were winning, changing the battle with courage, teamwork, and a strange intuition. Kelrin whispered to himself, though no one could hear, "I was wrong. Humans are extraordinary." And for the first time in his life, Kelrin wondered if observing them was a mistake. A small, simple doubt crept into his mind, but it was enough to make him sit quietly and watch, completely captivated by what humans could do when they fought. Kelrin could not look away from the screens. The human fleet had moved beyond what he had expected. Every ship, every soldier, acted with purpose, even when the odds were clearly against them. He leaned forward as human ships darted between enemy fire, using damaged vessels as shields and launching small boarding teams with terrifying precision. It was chaos, but a chaos that humans controlled. Pilot Noah Carter's ship zipped between enemy cruisers, avoiding volleys of laser fire that should have shredded him instantly. Kelrin watched the trajectory carefully, expecting collisions or explosions. But no. Carter's movements were calculated, fast, and unpredictable. Every time an enemy aimed, Carter would twist and dive, escaping death by a fraction of a second. Kelrin's sensors recorded every maneuver, but even his analytical mind struggled to keep up. On the ground, Commander Laura Benson coordinated her troops in the boarding operation. She moved from room to room, issuing orders with calm authority. Her soldiers faced traps, ambushes, and heavily armed alien guards. Some humans were injured, some bleeding, but none stopped. Even medic Claire Morgan went into the worst areas to save wounded soldiers, her movements confident even while debris fell around her. Kelrin had seen hundreds of battles in his lifetime, but he had never witnessed such courage. The enemy was starting to panic. Their ships no longer held formation. Missiles were misfired. Laser fire struck empty space as the humans forced them into confusion. Kelrin felt something in his chest, an uneasy knot that was not fear exactly, but the closest he had ever felt. He realized the humans were not just surviving, they were controlling the battle. They were using unpredictability, courage, and raw determination as weapons. Kelrin focused on Captain Lucas Grant, who was giving simple, precise commands. Keep pushing forward. Do not stop. Help anyone in trouble, but do not hesitate to fight. His words were calm, but every human under his command followed them without question. Kelrin could see the humans' trust in each other, the teamwork that seemed to exceed strategy. This was not training. This was instinct, and it worked. One human ship, commanded by pilot Emily Hart, moved into a dangerous position to draw enemy fire away from others. The ship took multiple hits, systems failing, but Hart continued. She targeted weak points on an enemy cruiser, sending it spinning out of control. Kelrin had predicted failure, but she succeeded. Her courage inspired others nearby to take similar risks, and the humans' offensive momentum grew stronger. Kelrin could not understand it. Every calculation told him humans should fail. The ships were smaller, weaker, and far fewer in number. The alien raiders were stronger, faster, and better armed. But the humans' unpredictability and teamwork allowed them to overcome these disadvantages. Kelrin began to feel something new, respect, tinged with fear. The humans were changing the battle in ways he could not predict. On the ground of a captured enemy vessel, human soldiers faced alien warriors who were stronger and faster. Yet they fought with skill and coordination. Laura Benson led a small squad through narrow corridors, taking down alien guards with a mix of clever traps and quick attacks. Medic Claire Morgan treated wounded soldiers even while explosions shook the hull. Every human moved with purpose, even when the situation seemed hopeless. Kelrin observed the humans' ability to improvise. When a corridor was blocked, they found another path. When weapons failed, they used their surroundings as tools. They turned debris into shields and scrap into weapons. It was as if nothing could stop them because nothing limited their thinking. Kelrin's mind, trained to calculate the most efficient paths, could not keep up with the humans' creativity. Meanwhile, pilot Noah Carter had joined with other human ships to create a coordinated attack pattern. The humans moved like a living organism, each ship responding to the others without verbal commands. Kelrin recorded every movement, but his report was already filled with lines of confusion. He could not describe the humans without sounding amazed. He had been ordered to watch humans and record their failures, but instead, he was witnessing victory in its purest form. The enemy tried a massive counterattack. Large energy cannons fired simultaneously, targeting the human fleet in a wide spread. Kelrin expected the humans to panic, to break formation, to be destroyed. Instead, they adapted. Captain Lucas Grant issued orders calmly. Scatter, then regroup. Use the debris as cover. Human ships twisted, turned, and dove through falling wreckage. Lasers passed by inches from their hulls. Ships that should have been destroyed remained intact. Kelrin realized the humans were fearless not because they lacked fear, but because they had learned to act despite it. The boarding teams on enemy ships faced heavy resistance. Alien warriors were larger, stronger, and more skilled, yet human squads adapted. One group used environmental hazards as traps. Another climbed through maintenance shafts to flank enemies. Laura Benson's squad cleared rooms with precision, covering each other perfectly. Medic Claire Morgan moved through the worst zones, treating wounded soldiers without pause. Kelrin's sensors detected high levels of stress, but the humans kept fighting. They did not stop until the job was done. Kelrin felt his chest tighten. The humans were rewriting every rule he had known about battle. They fought not for survival alone, but for each other. They risked themselves to save comrades. They improvised when all logic said failure was certain. Every action was a blend of courage, skill, and intuition. The human strength was more than physical. It was in their mind, their heart, and their determination. He watched pilot Emily Hart's ship take another direct hit. Systems were failing rapidly, yet she continued to fight. She coordinated with Noah Carter and other ships to create a pincer attack on an enemy cruiser. The cruiser's shields collapsed under the humans' unconventional assault. Kelrin's mouth opened slightly in disbelief. The humans were winning again, and the enemy could not respond. Kelrin's mind raced. How could beings so small, so seemingly fragile, have this combination of courage, intelligence, and unpredictability? They had no superweapons, no shield stronger than anything else, no ancient battle experience beyond a few decades. Yet they were the masters of the battlefield. Kelrin realized he had underestimated them completely. He had assumed weakness, but what he had seen was strength unlike anything the galaxy had known. As the battle continued, humans rescued wounded comrades from the worst zones. They did not leave anyone behind. Captain Lucas Grant personally supervised recovery operations, coordinating with medics and pilots. Amy Brooks ensured communications remained intact, relaying information to every squad. Every human had a role, and every role was executed perfectly. Kelrin felt a strange sense of admiration and fear. If humans could fight like this routinely, no one in the galaxy would be safe from them. The enemy launched a second wave, hoping to overwhelm the humans with sheer numbers. Kelrin expected this to succeed. He held his breath, ready to record the humans' defeat. Instead, humans adapted instantly. Pilot Noah Carter led a daring flanking maneuver, while Emily Hart created diversions. Boarding squads infiltrated key enemy vessels. The humans turned the counterattack into a trap, destroying several enemy ships while minimizing their own losses. Kelrin's mind reeled. The humans were unstoppable in their unpredictability. He could not write the words fast enough. He had been ordered to report weaknesses, errors, and failures. All he had seen were successes, courage, and ingenuity. The humans did not fight like any other species he had observed. They improvised, collaborated, and risked themselves for others. They were fearless, not because they lacked fear, but because they chose to act despite it. Kelrin watched a final maneuver in the second phase of the battle. Pilot Noah Carter, injured and with a failing ship, rammed a weakened enemy cruiser, disabling its engines and creating a path for other human ships. Emily Hart followed with precision, striking the cruiser's weak points. Captain Lucas Grant coordinated rescue teams to retrieve crews from damaged ships. Every human act reinforced what Kelrin now understood. Humans were extraordinary. Kelrin sat back in his observation chair, overwhelmed. He had expected to witness human failure. Instead, he had seen courage, skill, adaptability, and unity. He could not predict what humans would do next. Every action was a surprise. The humans had turned chaos into control and were winning battles that should have been impossible. Kelrin whispered, almost to himself, "I do not understand them, but I cannot deny them. They are incredible." He realized with a small shock that he was no longer merely an observer. He was a witness to something the galaxy had never truly seen. Humans fighting not for themselves, but for each other, and winning against impossible odds. Kelrin could barely keep his eyes on the screens. The humans had survived impossible odds twice already, but he knew the battle was far from over. The enemy had regrouped, launching a massive counterattack with weapons that no civilized species would normally use. Energy beams sliced through space with deadly speed, missiles flew from all directions, and enormous cruisers advanced on the human fleet. Kelrin expected humans to retreat, to scatter, or to surrender. Instead, they did something that made his mind reel. They held their ground. Captain Lucas Grant spoke calmly to his crew. "We hold formation, protect each other, focus on one target at a time. We do not retreat." Amy Brooks' voice was steady over the comms. "Shields are holding, weapons ready. All units report." Every human responded instantly, coordinating with each other without confusion. Kelrin had never seen such control under extreme pressure. Pilot Noah Carter's ship was damaged from the previous engagements. Hull integrity was low, systems failing intermittently. Yet he continued to maneuver with skill beyond anything Kelrin had ever witnessed. Carter dodged energy blasts, led other ships through dangerous areas, and even rescued a small human transport that had been cornered by enemy fire. Kelrin's three eyes widened in disbelief. Humans were risking themselves constantly, yet none hesitated. On the ground, Commander Laura Benson and her squads faced alien soldiers stronger and faster than humans. Every corridor, every room was a battlefield. Humans were wounded, some critically, yet they continued to fight. Laura led her troops through ambushes, using traps, walls, and debris to gain advantage. When one human fell, another took their place instantly. Medic Claire Morgan worked tirelessly, dragging soldiers to safety and patching injuries, even while explosions shook the hull around her. Kelrin's sensors indicated near-fatal stress levels, yet the humans never faltered. Kelrin leaned closer to the display. The humans were organized chaos. Every movement seemed random but served a purpose. Ships twisted and turned in impossible angles. Boarding teams moved with precision, anticipating enemy movements before they happened. It was as if humans had an instinct that no calculations could predict. Kelrin's mind raced to record the data, but his thoughts kept returning to a single, terrifying idea. Humans could not be defeated by logic alone. Pilot Emily Hart led a squad of human ships through the thickest part of the enemy assault. Shields failing, engines sparking, yet her focus never wavered. She targeted weak points, drew fire away from others, and communicated silently with the rest of her squad. Kelrin could not understand how such small, fragile beings could do so much. Every maneuver, every action was deliberate, every risk calculated instinctively. The humans were redefining what it meant to fight. The enemy unleashed a massive energy strike, a weapon designed to obliterate ships in seconds. Kelrin expected annihilation. Instead, Captain Lucas Grant gave a simple command: scatter, then regroup. Protect the wounded first. The human ships twisted, dodged, and maneuvered through the onslaught. Noah Carter's damaged ship blocked a beam aimed at another vessel, saving it from destruction. Kelrin felt a strange knot in his chest. Humans were not just surviving, they were protecting each other at every opportunity. On the ground, Laura Benson's squad faced a heavily armed alien unit. One of her soldiers, wounded and bleeding, refused to move. Laura knelt beside him. "We get out together." No one left behind. She lifted him up, covered by the rest of her squad. Medic Claire Morgan followed immediately, stabilizing the soldier while firing at approaching enemies. Kelrin had seen courage, but this was beyond anything he had recorded before. Humans fought not for victory alone, but for each other. Kelrin's mind began to reel. Humans were small, fragile, and apparently weak, but their determination and unity made them formidable. He had been trained to expect fear, panic, and retreat in these situations. None occurred. Humans adapted, improvised, and continued to fight even when everything was against them. Every failed system, every injury, every lost ship was met with new tactics, new courage, new determination. Pilot Noah Carter executed a daring maneuver. His ship was almost non-functional, yet he aimed directly at a massive enemy cruiser. Using the last of his power, he disabled its engines and created a path for human reinforcements. Emily Hart followed, striking at the cruiser's weak points and turning the enemy's strategy against them. Kelrin's chest felt tight. The humans were not following orders blindly. They were thinking, adapting, and acting with creativity no machine or alien protocol could anticipate. The alien enemy attempted to flank the human fleet. Kelrin expected chaos, a breakdown of human formation. Instead, Captain Lucas Grant anticipated the move. He redirected ships, set up traps, and used smaller, damaged vessels to block enemy advances. Human squads boarded enemy ships in mid-space, disabling weapons and creating confusion. The aliens' attacks became ineffective. The humans turned defense into offense without hesitation. Kelrin could not believe it. Human soldiers on board enemy ships continued to face superior numbers. Laura Benson's team entered a corridor lined with alien soldiers. One by one, they neutralized threats with clever tactics, teamwork, and precision. Wounded soldiers were supported by medics and fellow soldiers. Kelrin's sensors indicated extreme danger, yet the humans moved as if it were routine. The enemy could not predict or adapt to human unpredictability. Kelrin began to understand a terrifying truth. Humans did not fight like other species. They fought with a combination of logic, instinct, courage, and an unwillingness to fail. Kelrin turned his attention back to the fleet. Energy weapons streaked across the void. Small human ships weaved through deadly fire. Pilot Noah Carter led another rescue, dragging a human transport from destruction. Emily Hart's squad struck at enemy weak points with precision. Captain Lucas Grant coordinated the entire fleet calmly, giving orders that each human executed perfectly. Kelrin realized the humans were not just surviving, they were orchestrating victory under impossible conditions. The enemy tried another massive assault, using overwhelming numbers to crush human ships. Kelrin expected failure. Instead, humans adapted. Ships moved unpredictably, creating zones of safety for each other. Boarding teams infiltrated enemy cruisers, sabotaging weapons and creating chaos. Injured humans continued to fight, covered by their comrades. Humans were not just resilient, they were unstoppable in ways Kelrin had never imagined. On the ground, Laura Benson's squad faced the heaviest resistance yet. Alien soldiers surrounded them on all sides. Laura gave a single command: "We move together. We do not stop." Every human obeyed, covering each other and advancing through impossible odds. Medic Claire Morgan worked tirelessly, ensuring no human was left behind. Kelrin could not understand the combination of bravery, intelligence, and unity. The humans were rewriting every rule he had learned about war. Pilot Noah Carter took one last daring risk. His ship, heavily damaged and nearly powerless, flew directly into the path of a massive enemy cruiser. The ship's collision disabled the cruiser, allowing the rest of the human fleet to advance. Emily Hart followed immediately, striking at exposed weak points. Captain Lucas Grant coordinated a simultaneous rescue of crews from damaged ships. Every human action reinforced Kelrin's growing realization. Humans were not just strong, clever, or brave. They were something beyond prediction. Kelrin felt a tightness in his chest. His mind struggled to process everything he had witnessed. Humans were weak in appearance, yet they had overcome impossible odds through courage, creativity, and unity. They acted despite fear, improvised under pressure, and never gave up. Every human he observed fought not only for themselves, but for each other. Kelrin realized that humans could not be defeated by numbers, weapons, or logic alone. He sat back in his observation chair, overwhelmed. The humans had survived the enemy's strongest attacks. They had adapted, improvised, and fought with determination that exceeded anything Kelrin had ever known. He had been trained to expect fear and failure, but the humans defied every expectation. He whispered to himself, almost involuntarily, "They are extraordinary." Kelrin understood something terrifying. Humans were not predictable. They could not be fully calculated or anticipated. Their strength was not in technology or size, but in courage, unity, and intelligence combined with instinct. He had been sent to observe their failure, but he had witnessed their triumph. As the battle raged on, Kelrin's report began to take a new shape. No longer was it a record of failure. It was a record of humanity's incredible skill, courage, and adaptability. Humans fought with something beyond science or logic. They fought with heart, with determination, and with a will that no weapon could break. Kelrin realized the galaxy had underestimated humans, and that mistake could be catastrophic. He turned his eyes back to the screens, unable to look away. Captain Lucas Grant and his crew were still moving forward. Pilot Noah Carter continued daring maneuvers. Emily Hart led her squad with skill and precision. Laura Benson and medic Claire Morgan ensured no human was left behind. Kelrin knew, in his mind and in his chest, that humans were changing everything he thought he knew about war. And in that moment, Kelrin knew he would never see battle the same way again. Humans were not weak, reckless, or fragile. They were unstoppable when they fought together. The thought both fascinated and frightened him. The humans were more than survivors. They were masters of the impossible. Kelrin's eyes were glued to the screens. The human fleet had survived impossible attacks twice already, but now something even stranger was happening. The humans were not just defending, they were taking the fight to the enemy. The aliens, who had always assumed humans were weak and reckless, were beginning to show signs of fear. Kelrin could see it clearly on the sensors: panic, confusion, hesitation. The humans had turned the battle around. Captain Lucas Grant's orders were simple: push forward. Protect each other. Finish what we started. His voice was calm but firm. Amy Brooks relayed the commands to all units with precision. The human ships moved like one organism, small but coordinated, striking at enemy weak points while covering each other. Kelrin could not predict their moves. They were unpredictable, fearless, and organized. Every human knew their role and executed it perfectly. Pilot Noah Carter led the vanguard. His damaged ship moved boldly into the thickest fire, drawing attention from several enemy cruisers. He maneuvered between energy beams, dodging explosions that should have destroyed him. At the same time, he opened paths for smaller human ships to advance and rescue wounded crews. Kelrin's mind raced. Humans were risking themselves constantly, yet none hesitated. Each action seemed impossible, yet it worked flawlessly. On the ground, Commander Laura Benson led a boarding team onto a massive alien cruiser. The ship was heavily guarded, and the enemy soldiers were stronger and faster than any human, but the humans adapted instantly. Laura ordered her team to use the ship's own environment as a weapon. Corridors became traps. Maintenance shafts became secret paths. Human soldiers moved with coordination, covering each other perfectly. Wounded soldiers were supported by medics, who treated them even under heavy fire. Kelrin could not believe the efficiency and courage he was witnessing. Medic Claire Morgan was everywhere. She moved through smoke, debris, and explosions, patching wounds, dragging soldiers to safety, and giving encouragement. Kelrin noticed how humans did not just fight, they cared for each other. Their teamwork went beyond strategy. It was instinct, loyalty, and courage combined. Humans risked everything to protect one another, and it was terrifyingly effective. Pilot Emily Hart's squad used small, damaged ships as shields and distractions. They twisted and turned unpredictably, forcing enemy fire to miss or strike empty space. At the same time, they attacked weak points on cruisers and frigates. The enemy began to lose formation. Their attacks became sloppy. Panic spread among them. Kelrin felt a strange tension in his chest. Humans had turned fear back onto their enemies. The hunters had become the hunted. Kelrin's recording devices struggled to capture everything. Human creativity, courage, and instinct defied all calculations. The enemy launched a concentrated strike at Captain Lucas Grant's ship, hoping to destroy leadership and scatter the fleet. Lucas Grant remained calm. He gave orders for evasive maneuvers, coordinated counterattacks, and protection of the wounded. Every human obeyed, executing the plan flawlessly. The enemy's strike failed, and human ships pressed forward, striking more enemy vessels. On the alien cruiser, Laura Benson's team faced heavy resistance. Alien warriors attempted to overwhelm them with brute strength. Laura's team adapted instantly. They set up ambushes, used debris as weapons, and moved with perfect timing. Wounded humans were protected and treated immediately. Kelrin's sensors showed extreme danger, yet not a single human faltered. Their courage, skill, and unity were unstoppable. The enemy began to retreat under their unexpected ferocity. Pilot Noah Carter's ship, damaged and leaking energy, rammed an enemy cruiser to disable it. Emily Hart followed immediately, striking at weak points to destroy critical systems. Human ships advanced in perfect synchronization, turning chaos into control. Kelrin realized that humans did not just survive, they dictated the flow of battle. The enemy, with superior numbers and weapons, was on the defensive. Kelrin could not process it. Humans were small and seemingly fragile. Their weapons were weaker than the enemy's. Yet their courage, creativity, and teamwork made them a force no calculations could predict. They were fearless not because they lacked fear, but because they acted despite it. Every human was willing to risk their life to protect another, and the effect was devastatingly effective. On the battlefield, the humans used damaged ships as weapons repeatedly. They rammed cruisers, destroyed shields, and created openings for others to strike. Pilot Emily Hart led a squad of ships through these openings, striking at vital points and causing chain reactions. The enemy fleet, which had expected an easy victory, now faltered. Their formations collapsed. Their attacks became erratic. The humans had seized control completely. Laura Benson's boarding squads moved through the alien cruiser with precision. Wounded humans were treated, enemy weapons were disabled, and critical systems were sabotaged. Kelrin could not understand the humans' ability to improvise under extreme stress. Every obstacle became an opportunity. Every risk was calculated instinctively. Humans did not hesitate, they acted, and every action led closer to victory. Medic Claire Morgan worked tirelessly, ignoring exhaustion, ignoring danger. She pulled soldiers from burning corridors, patched wounds with skill, and encouraged them to keep moving. Humans had a unity Kelrin had never seen in any species. They risked everything for each other, and that risk made them stronger, not weaker. The aliens, for the first time, felt the true meaning of fear. Humans were not just fighting, they were fighting together, and that made them unstoppable. Pilot Noah Carter led the final assault on the largest enemy cruiser. His ship, barely holding together, dodged weapons fire, rammed the cruiser, and created chaos among the alien forces. Emily Hart's squad struck at exposed weak points. Captain Lucas Grant coordinated from his command ship, giving calm, precise orders. Human medics and squads rescued their own from dangerous zones. Kelrin felt a deep tension. Humans had turned the battle completely, and now victory was within reach. Kelrin realized the full truth. Humans did not need superior numbers, weapons, or shields. They had courage, creativity, unity, and determination. They acted despite fear, adapted despite danger, and never gave up. The humans had turned the enemy's confidence into terror. The aliens fled in disorder, abandoning ships and retreating from the battlefield. Human ships pursued selectively, ensuring no one was left behind. Kelrin could not look away. Human ships twisted, dodged, and struck with precision. Boarding teams secured alien vessels, rescued comrades, and disabled weapons. Human pilots led daring maneuvers, taking risks that would have been impossible for any other species. Captain Lucas Grant and Amy Brooks coordinated everything calmly. Kelrin realized the humans' greatest strength was not their technology, size, or firepower. It was their will, their heart, and their unity. The battlefield was a testament to human resilience. Ships that should have been destroyed survived. Squads that should have been wiped out succeeded against impossible odds. Medics saved lives under fire. Pilots risked everything to protect comrades. Humans had created victory out of what should have been defeat. Kelrin could not deny it any longer. Humans were extraordinary. He leaned back in his chair, feeling a strange mix of awe and fear. The humans had shown him that courage, unity, and determination could overcome any obstacle. He had come to observe weakness, but instead he had witnessed something that no galaxy had fully understood. Humans were not just fighters. They were unstoppable when united, fearless when facing death, and brilliant in chaos. Kelrin whispered to himself almost involuntarily, "The galaxy does not understand humans. They are something beyond." He knew he would never see war the same way again. Humans were no longer just a species to observe. They were a force of nature, unpredictable and unyielding. The aliens who had underestimated them had learned too late. Humans had won, not because of technology, but because of courage, unity, and the refusal to fail. And as Kelrin recorded the final movements of the battle, he knew something had changed inside him. He had witnessed HFY in its purest form. Humans were small and fragile, but together they were unstoppable. Fearless, creative, united, and determined, humans had taken chaos and made it their own. The enemy had fled, leaving a battlefield littered with evidence of human brilliance. Kelrin understood fully now. Humans were not just fighters. They were legends in the making, and the galaxy would never forget what he had seen. Kelrin sat in the quiet observation room, staring at the last images of the battlefield. The human fleet had won, the enemy had fled, and the wounded were being rescued. For hours he had watched the humans in action, recording every move, every decision, every act of courage. He had been sent to observe their failures. Instead, he had witnessed something far greater. Humans were not weak, reckless, or fragile. They were extraordinary. Captain Lucas Grant and his crew were still busy. Damaged ships were being repaired, injured soldiers treated, and the survivors of the enemy boarding operations were being secured. Pilot Noah Carter guided the last rescue operations, even though his ship was almost falling apart. Emily Hart's squad escorted transports to safety. Commander Laura Benson oversaw the ground crews, ensuring everyone returned safely. Medic Claire Morgan moved from one injured human to another, never resting. Kelrin realized that even after victory, humans did not stop. Their mission was never just to fight, it was to ensure everyone survived. Kelrin's mind turned to the Galactic Council. He had been ordered to write a report, one that would analyze the humans' weaknesses and failures. He had expected an easy task. The Council thought humans were small, fragile, and reckless. They had expected him to laugh at their mistakes, to record failure. But now Kelrin knew he could not do that. The humans had shown him courage, skill, unity, and intelligence that no report could exaggerate. He activated his communication system and began to compile his report. His words were careful, precise, but honest. "Humans are not as they appear," he wrote. "They are small, fragile in appearance, and their technology is less advanced in some areas. Yet they possess qualities that no calculation, weapon, or strategy can overcome. They act with courage, determination, and unity. They improvise, adapt, and protect each other, even under conditions that would destroy other species." Kelrin paused, thinking of Captain Lucas Grant. The human leader had remained calm under fire, giving simple commands that had orchestrated victory. He had coordinated ships, boarding teams, and medics with precision, yet never seemed overwhelmed. Amy Brooks had executed those orders flawlessly, keeping communications clear and ensuring coordination. Kelrin realized that leadership among humans was not about control, it was about trust and responsibility. He typed the next part carefully. "Human leaders inspire their soldiers through example and care, not through fear or authority. They fight not for glory or survival alone, but for each other. Medics risk their lives, pilots risk everything, and ground crews face impossible odds, all to protect their own. This unity is their true strength. No weapon, no number, no enemy can break it when humans fight together." Kelrin's thoughts turned to the battlefield itself. Pilot Noah Carter's daring maneuvers, Emily Hart's precise strikes, Laura Benson's leadership on enemy ships, and Claire Morgan's tireless care for the wounded. Every act was a demonstration of humanity's strength. Kelrin had seen enemy forces flee in panic, unable to adapt to humans' courage and creativity. The humans had not relied on technology alone. They had relied on themselves, their minds, and their hearts. "Humans are masters of unpredictability," Kelrin wrote. "They adapt instantly, think creatively under pressure, and risk themselves to protect others. They do not follow protocol blindly. They improvise, turning chaos into control. Even when injured or outnumbered, they continue the mission. Their courage is not the absence of fear, it is the will to act despite it." Kelrin paused. He had been trained to observe, to analyze, and to report without personal bias, but he could not hide what he felt. Humans had changed him. He had expected weakness, but he had seen strength. He had expected fear, but he had seen courage. He had expected failure, but he had seen victory against impossible odds. This report could not just be a technical analysis, it had to convey the truth about humans. He continued. "The galaxy underestimates humans at its own peril. Their strength is not measurable by size, firepower, or speed. It is measurable in their courage, unity, creativity, and determination. They protect each other at every cost. They improvise when all logic fails. They fight not for themselves alone, but for their companions, their mission, and their ideals. Any species that underestimates humans risks destruction." Kelrin looked at the battlefield one last time. Human ships moved calmly among debris, rescuing comrades, repairing systems, and returning captured enemy ships to safe control. Every human act reinforced his conclusion. Humans were extraordinary. He felt a strange knot in his chest, a combination of awe, respect, and fear. The Council had sent him to observe humans, but now he understood that humans were not just participants in the galaxy, they were a force beyond prediction. He added the final notes. "I have observed humans in combat under extreme conditions. I was ordered to record failures. Instead, I have witnessed the highest form of courage and skill. Humans fight with heart, unity, and intelligence. They adapt instantly, protect each other, and overcome impossible odds. They are unpredictable, fearless, and unstoppable when united. The Council must understand that humans are not merely another species, they are a phenomenon. Any engagement with humans should be approached with caution, respect, and preparation. Underestimating them is fatal. Kelrin leaned back in his chair. He had completed the report, but he felt no satisfaction. The humans had won the battle, but more importantly, they had won his understanding and respect. They were more than warriors, they were legends in the making. The galaxy had seen few species like them, and most did not even know the truth about humans. As the last of the injured humans were recovered, Kelrin observed quietly. Captain Lucas Grant walked among the crews, giving orders calmly and checking on everyone. Amy Brooks' ensured communications remained clear. Pilot Noah Carter guided his damaged ship safely back to base. Emily Hart's squad assisted in repairs and rescue. Laura Benson and medic Claire Morgan ensured no human was left behind. Kelrin realized that even after victory, humans did not stop. They acted not for praise, but because it was the right thing to do. Kelrin's report ended with a personal note. I was sent to witness human weakness. Instead, I have seen human greatness. Their courage, unity, adaptability, and determination are unmatched. They fight for each other, for their mission, and for their ideals. Humans have changed my understanding of war, combat, and life itself. The galaxy should never take them lightly. The human's example is a warning, a lesson, and a marvel. May the Council heed it well. He submitted the report, knowing it would shake the Council. The human victory was extraordinary, but the truth he recorded went beyond numbers, ships, or casualties. It was the spirit of humanity itself, their HFY, their courage, their determination. The Council would understand, sooner or later, that humans were not just another species. They were a force the galaxy could not predict, a force the galaxy could not ignore. Kelrin looked at the humans one last time. They were celebrating quietly, helping wounded comrades, repairing ships, and preparing for whatever came next. He felt a strange warmth in his chest. Humans were small and fragile in appearance, but their hearts, minds, and unity made them unstoppable. He realized that witnessing them had changed him forever. He would never forget what he had seen, and he would never underestimate humans again. And as Kelrin prepared to leave the observation deck, he whispered quietly, almost to himself, "Humans are beyond anything I imagined. The galaxy has never seen anything like them. I hope it never underestimates them again." The humans had won the battle, but more than that, they had won the respect of a witness who had come expecting weakness. Kelrin knew he had recorded history, a moment when the galaxy saw human courage, ingenuity, and unity for what it truly was. Humans were HFY in its purest form. They were small, fragile in appearance, but unstoppable in spirit. The galaxy would remember this day. And in that quiet observation room, Kelrin understood fully. Humans were not just warriors, they were legends.